Hello, this is Anne Marie, and I'm going to wait a few minutes to see if people get on. And it's October 31st, and it is Halloween, and it's also in Christian tradition, All Souls Day. And tomorrow is November 1st, which is All Saints Day. And November 1st in the Celtic calendar is called Sodin, or Samhain, and basically it's a day which recognizes that there's a thin veil between the living and the dead. And other cultures also recognize this. Oftentimes, it's a great way to honor our ancestors during this time. One of the things I wanted to talk about was how we can use this if we feel like we wanted to talk to relatives. For myself, I've been working on some of my art projects. And for my studio, I'm having an opening on Sunday. And of course, everybody's welcome. And my cousin Mike, who's my dad's cousin really, and I know his kids, was there, and he's like, he's like Mr. Carpenter, and taught his daughter how to use the tools and all that. And there I am working on some woods, and I feel like Mike was right next to me, kind of encouraging me on, and it was great. And I was kind of like, oh, this is kind of cool, but I didn't really think too much about it, and then realized as I prepared for TipTop Tuesday, it's that thin veil. So no wonder I never see Mike. But this was a good time for him to come and help me with my projects. Anyway, moving forward, I also wanted to give some, before I'm reading my book, I wanted to give some tips for how you talk to your ancestors. Different people, hi Fong, different people have ways of communicating with people. I use telepathy. Okay, so if I feel like if I want to communicate with somebody on the other side, I send them a message and we talk back and forth. If I'm not sure it's the right person, or somebody's, like, how can I be sure? I send them a little test question. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, what's your favorite color? And I'll know what their favorite color is, and then I'll get that answer back. So another time, some people actually have the sight ability to see, so they will actually see ghosts. I don't see ghosts. I'm not going to say I never see ghosts. It's rare. It's not my expertise. Sometimes people will hear people talking, people from the dead. That's their gift. They can hear that. Some people smell things. For instance, maybe there was a particular perfume or an aroma that cigar smoking of an ancestor that has passed, and they will smell that smell, and that's another clue that the ancestor is close to you, but on a different vibration. So today, what I wanted to talk about was walk-ins, and walk-ins are just that. They're spirits that are roaming the earth, and they walk into your body. When that happens, you can feel a shift. You start doing things that don't feel like you. You don't know why you've done something, and you might be getting meaner or angrier, or sometimes you'll have thoughts and they just don't feel like yours. There are people that can check that out and remove the spirits from the body. One time, many years ago, when I lived in Tacoma, a woman worked with me and told me I had 9 spirits within me, and she removed them, which was great. And she said to me she was surprised that I never committed suicide, or that I didn't, and because these spirits, once they get inside you, may decide they didn't pick the right body, that they did want to get back in an earth form, but not necessarily yours. Yours might be a little more boring than what they're looking for. And so you can have that feeling of wanting to die because the spirit wants to die. It's not your feelings at all. So I talked to her a little bit about that, and she also said to me she thought I'd be extremely spacey. And I told her that in high school my nickname was Space Cadet. And in my early 20s, when I went to a Halloween party, I wore a space costume, had long hair at the time, and put my braids up with balloons, and everybody got it. They thought it was hysterically funny, you know, like, oh yeah, you're a space cadet. So it wasn't till I had the clearing that things changed for me, and people see me now, for the most part, as fairly grounded and and very centered. So that's my own personal example. One of the reasons I wanted to talk about walk-ins was because in my work, I do space clearing for properties. Oftentimes the people that contact me are the people that have children that are not sleeping well. Kind of the monster under the bed syndrome. Well, maybe those monsters under the bed are actually legitimate concerns, and they're trying to get into the children's body. Sometimes also when we sleep, if we leave our body, a spirit can get in. There's lots of different ways these can happen. So, but getting back to, so if you're in, if you have oftentimes a lot of nightmares where you feel like somebody is chasing you or somebody's trying to catch you, that can actually be a legitimate problem in that a spirit is trying to get into your system. So I'm saying that as a concern for parents that think their children are just being difficult. Then maybe not. There may be like the bell criers. They're there telling you what's going on. So that's kind of important. I once knew somebody that was a healer, and he was very skilled at what he did. And he also had some other issues, drug and alcohol issues, and some other things. And he almost died in the hospital. And the next time I saw him, he was a grown man, but I looked at his spirit, and he seemed like a 13-year-old girl. He just, you know, was just acting like a child. It didn't seem like his body at all. Since then, I think he's worked that through and he's back to himself. But somebody else had said, yes, well, people remarked on how changed he was after he went back from the hospital. So there's that. And I also wanted to talk about, again, how we communicate with the other side. I think it's really important that we honor our ancestors, and I think it's important that we do that. And if people that are watching this and listening to this say, oh my gosh, my friend has been saying that her children are having a hard time sleeping, or something's going on in the house, or the house isn't feeling right, or they think there's ghosts there, or something's going on, I'm going to suggest that you have them call me. I'm going to put my website down below, and it might be useful for them to at least talk to me about it. Usually, in fact, in the past, I've been able to clear those things up with just one and maybe 2 sessions. So please let people know about my services too. And happy Halloween. And if there's any questions, do you guys have any questions? No questions. I know it's an interesting topic. There's also in my book, I have a section on walk-ins. I think it's really important. I personally believe that's what happened to Ted Bundy. There was some information recently that came out. Ted Bundy was a serial killer in the Northwest many years ago, and he's from Tacoma. And they talked about this one house when he was a young man that he lived in. And now they were saying, oh, it's got evil spirits in it, and nobody lives there, and it's a scary place. Actually, I'd love to clear that house, but that's another story. But they're blaming, oh, that's because Ted Bundy lived there. No, it might be just the opposite, that Ted Bundy's picked up a spirit. So that's why people can do both. They can be themselves and excel and be kind and have all this other stuff going on, and then that the evil spirit that has come into their body takes over and does things. So it is kind of a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but it can be actually the person and an evil spirit within them. And if you feel that way, or you know people that have had that experience, I encourage them to talk to somebody who can clear those spirits out of them. So I think like somebody else was there, yes. And Shar, yeah, that's exactly right, that you can feel like somebody else is there. And I did this one house, and there were lots of ghosts in it, but there was this one ghost that either had lived there or was the housekeeper or something and lived there too, because it was a restored mansion. And this person was so kind and was always like trying to help this woman in the kitchen by just making things run smoothly. So when I cleared her house, the ghost, she specifically said, please don't get rid of that ghost. I really kind of like having her around. It gives me more confidence in the kitchen. So yeah, if people feel like something's going on, it is. That's the bottom line. It is. You know, especially when you're a child, you have that great sixth sense. Yeah. So if there's I don't think there's any more questions, and I hope this was helpful. And Mary, I'm just finishing up, and you know, I see you, and I think you say your name Harundin. Anyway, welcome. But we're just finishing up, and so have a happy Halloween, and take care. And if you know someone that feels like they have spirits in them or their house is haunted, please have them contact me. That's what I do. I'm a space clearer. I help people have calm and healing homes. Okay. Happy Halloween and happy All Saints Day tomorrow.